All right, everyone, hello. Welcome to the May district meeting. First, like usual, go ahead and put your name and district into the chat window, and I'm recording this, so we'll post this later, just so we have an idea of who has showed up. Status update on the district, the same as it has been for a while now. We have 4 Sycamore districts that are working on converting to their new SISs, and we have 1 Infinite Campus district that's still looking at it. We are working with them in CIC to get them on board as well. All right. First thing I wanted to do that is new for this month, and this is actually a new document that Jill has been putting together to kind of really cleanly. This is primarily intended for the vendors, but I think we'll get something out of it as well. We have this document called the Advisor Changes. It's more about the technical changes for the ODS database this year. This document is not posted yet because it is not finalized. We still have some more things to put in here. But just like we kind of hinted at some of these changes during the conference, I figured we could review some of them here, just to keep you updated. First one, and this is one that will not really be a change that you see on the front end. This is something that the SIS vendors take care of. Some districts have been running into this problem, though. It's just a problem with the existing version of EdFi, where some student flags, if a student has been enrolled in 2 districts during a year, those 2 districts can overwrite each other's values. So obviously that's a problem. So we have created a solution that will keep a separate copy of all of these fields for each district. So that way you no longer have, another district overriding your FRL flag, for example. I know I've seen a couple of tickets come through with people getting that problem. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and speak up. There's a couple of things we're cleaning up that were just causing confusion because there seemed to be 2 fields. Like we had an expected graduation school year field, as well as there's a thing called a student cohort year that's built into EdFi, and the vendors were doing both. And so we figured we'll just help simplify things and take that down to 1 field. And similarly, this isn't in the document yet, but like we were collecting, there were 2 different places to mark a student as a 504 designation, and that was confusing as well. So next year we will be only having that in 1 place. So that will help avoid issues in the future. And then we'll update the validation site and the dashboard to look at the 1 correct place. We talked about this before at the conference, but here is specifically the fields that are going away because of our change to the LEP field. That there will just be a single field called Limited English Proficiency, which has these values. So if you're not LEP at all, you get classified as that final one, not an English learner. Or if you were an English learner and have now been reclassified fluent, you get the 3rd value there. So all of your students who used to be marked as LEP eligible will end up in one of those top 2 fields. If they are LEP participating in the old system, that's just now the first field. And just kind of got the math there on how to translate it. So that means we are getting rid of this redesignation field, the duration field, the eligibility field. There's also an LEP program that's separate than the LEP limited English proficiency field. So we are getting rid of condensing that from 5 different pieces of data down to 1. So I'm happy with that. There's a new flag that we added. It's kind of like a FERPA required kind of field, directory information opt-out. So that's a brand new field that vendors will actually have to code something for if they didn't already have that field. Code that so that you could send it up. The expected high school of graduation, that's a new field that we decided we needed in certain cases where someone is, I'm not exactly sure the usage, but where someone is attending a high school, maybe as like in an interim program or other cases, I'm not sure exactly. I would need Pam here. But there is a high school that we want them to be counted in the graduation cohort as. So it'll look for cohort purposes as if they graduated from this other high school. So we have a field to collect that now. There's a couple of changes to discipline based on what we've read in ESSA that we felt we needed some more fields. This referral to law enforcement and a school-related arrest. And it's like we made some changes to the behavior descriptor as well. Yeah, I couldn't tell you why exactly, but yeah, Jill is our expert on discipline. So we're also working on coming out with a special discipline guidance document right now as well that Jill will be working on. So we will be releasing that soon. We hope to release this document, get this finalized and released to the vendors possibly tomorrow. We added a new grading period terms, 4-week terms, or basically a half a quarter grading period. There were some cases where some districts would make use of that. And just, a little change to the description for one of the clusters. But so that's it for that document. Any questions?
Hey, Max, it's Ellie.
Hi.
Hey, I have a question on the national assessment piece. I had a conversation with Jenny on this, and it sounded like, is this correct, that next year we'll still be expected to report 1 grade in elementary for this out of our SIS via advisor? And the reason I ask is currently PowerSchool, I had another phone call with them, and they're not pulling any national assessment data for advisor anywhere. And so they said if that is going to be a requirement, they need documentation showing what needs to be pulled for that.
That's how I understood it. They still needed 1.
Yeah, we do. I mean, yeah, there is space already, documentation already about for assessment data in Advisor. So you're talking about, I believe we've said that districts, if they are using the map, they don't have to send that up. But if you're talking about a district that doesn't use the map from NWEA, then they need to send up their own NAI data.
Okay, so let me clarify. So if they are using MAP, then they won't need to send anything because you guys will have that statewide file. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so they wouldn't have to
They
send.
just, everyone needs to make sure they have properly attached the NDE student ID when they have. I don't know exactly where that happens, but when they set up their students with NWA to take the map, so that we can connect their data later.
So that map in WEA would take the elementary grade and the middle grade. Both those grades would take that in WEA?
I think it's offered at every grade.
Every grade?
As far as I know.
Okay. That's
Or a lot of grades anyway.
That's a better explanation than I had for you, Ellie.
That's all right. I just wanted to clarify, and I just wanted to make sure that Power School and also the other SISs have any documentation that they need moving forward if that is.
Yeah, we know there may be a handful of districts that aren't using the map. We haven't really decided for sure that we want the vendor to build that out, or we'll just kind of have some one-off way to deal with them. So
Okay.
For the large majority of districts, so you don't have to worry about NAI data.
Okay.
All right. Moving on, the usual reminders, staff data in the dashboard. Check that staff data dashboard access report. Try to get into your dashboard. Send us a ticket if you can't. I've seen less of those tickets now. I think we have worked through most of the districts who are going to try that. I believe I have one district right now that's still working on an SSO issue. That non-reportable schools form, a few people have asked me about this at the conference. It's posted on our Google site. There's a link here as well. Not all of the vendors are supporting that correctly at the moment, but we expect them all to be able to support it for next year. Advisor validation website, no new updates yet. We know we have an open bug with certain error details don't pull up. And we are trying to fix that. In the meantime, if you run into that, you could just put in a ticket. We'll send you the data that you can't see. It just affects a few random error codes, so not everything. The next features we are looking at, the archiving of errors that hides them, adding a programs lookup that works like the student demographics lookup, and adding more reports and error codes to match with the year-end data. So we will, be getting into that over, the next month and a half. But of course, we expect everyone is primarily going to be busy with their NSSRS uploads. So we know that, we don't expect you to be doing a lot of advisor testing in the near future. But stuff will start to appear on the site. So if you get a chance, you may test it as soon as it is up. Updates on the vendors. The big update is that SRS is now live. Districts are able to select the box and get connected to start sending data. I think I heard last week, Wade told me there was like 30 some districts connected and sending data. There is a document that I believe Wade put together, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this is posted on the SRS site or may have been emailed out to users.
I think it was
But-
emailed out, and then they were asked to forward it to their
Okay.
their SPED directors if they didn't get it.
But just in case, I put a copy of it, like we do with a lot of things, up on our Google site under the instructions tab. Then just at the top, not in a folder, this publishing SPED data to advisor from SRS document. And it walks you through the screens. You know, there's a new place to turn on your data publishing. There's a screen that gives you a little report about what data has published, and you can see if it's waiting to transmit, or if it has transmitted successfully, or if it has an error. So it's kind of like a simplified version of probably what most vendors kind of have this, you know, PowerSchool, Infinite Campus, others have some kind of publishing screen as well. So SRS is no different in that aspect. So that data is publishing, and then you will see it in advisor validation right after it gets published as far as the reports go. Then you could reprocess your errors in advisor validation if you wanted to see that as well. Update about PowerSchool. There was a release in April that fixed some things, especially with course grades. But there are more fixes scheduled for May already, and our PowerSchool support group is still meeting with them weekly, basically. So we are continuing to work through some issues there. So that's pretty much all I had on the agenda today. This was our last scheduled meeting for this year. We didn't want to take your time in June necessarily. We will pick this up next year. We could keep doing like the third Wednesday in the month. That would put us at August 15th. I'm not sure if everyone is around by that time. You think district should be? So I'm thinking August 15th for the next meeting, and we will continue with the monthly meetings, I think. Unless we, during, you know, the fall crunch time, we may have some extra meetings if we need to. Any objections to that? Comments? Questions?
All of the NSSRS year-end workdays are scheduled, so check with your ESU and register. They're also listed on the portal homepage under coming attractions, coming meetings. So check that portal homepage and contact your upcoming events. There they are. They're all listed there. So contact the ESU directly to register, and we'll work on your year-end NSSRS reporting.
Yeah, Ellie, the document will go out as soon as Jill and I finish it, basically. And everything else is ready to go out as well. We just wanted to finish the document before we email all the vendors. Jill's not here today, so probably won't get it done today. But that is the last thing we have to do to get the vendors going for 1819. And we'll post all the documents up on our vendor documentation site at that time. All right. I think that's it. If anyone has something. If you were trying to say something, you may need to unmute yourself.
Hey, Max, one more quick question. Since we're not going to have another meeting, do you know at any point in how this will be communicated to, like when the system will go down over the summer to gear up for 1819, or will that just be sent out in the bulletin, or?
Yeah, we would put that in the bulletin for sure. The switchover happens basically the first week of August is when we plan the downtime. But a lot of districts may choose to just shut off their Edify connection as soon as their end of year stuff is done, you know, before they leave on break or whatever. So if districts, I mean, and that's probably the recommended step that most districts would follow. So if they do that, then they're not even going to notice the downtime anyway necessarily, because before they go to turn it back on next year, we would really recommend they get a new update from their vendor. Because of those 1819 changes we just went over, basically every vendor has to do some update before, and that has to be installed before they would want to turn on their Edify connection next year. But yeah, we can communicate that in the bulletin for sure. Oh, Angela's asking about the vendor documents. If you do want to see those, they are available on a separate Google site that's intended for vendors, but it's open to the public. I put the URL in the chat. It is just really, you know, we keep this separated because it's really more the technical side. This isn't, you know, meant for end users generally. The two main tabs are the data standards tab. That's where we have some of the technical documentation that the vendors use for each school year. And then we have some other things on the resource documents tab. Jean was asking about the SRS. Yes, I think, like I said, at least 30 districts have already connected and are sending data. And you can just follow that instruction document that is posted out here on our Google site under instructions, and that tells you how to turn on the advisor publishing from SRS and where to see your data. So yeah, definitely, I do know. I've talked to several districts who are sending their data through SRS now. Just to be clear also, Angela, we'll also be updating the data elements document soon for 2018-19. That's really the key document that is intended for all audiences. And this will reflect those same changes I was just talking about today as well, when it comes to some of the fields like the LEP or the directory information opt-out. So that should be getting done very soon as well. All right, everyone. I think that'll be it. Thanks for joining. And we will
Thank you.
talk to you in August.